Well, I'm still going to show clips from 3.9 because I'm unable to get 3.9.1 to launch, just the 1600007, whatever errors, and the game never launches, so whatever. To that end, I want to take a moment to talk a little more about trading and a brief moment about mining, and then we'll move on to survival, essentially, in the verse. So trading, last time we went to my main digs on Daymar, I suppose you could say. I went to Selin, but it really wasn't worth showing anything. This time we're on Yella. And I came here because there was a decent facility I recalled, and I wanted to see how things went. Again, we're just doing some basic runs. We're not doing any research to see what trade items are the best. I could always buy all of the most expensive item and go hawk it at the stations, or I could haul it to a much farther location and try to sell it. But again, I'm trying to do this quick and cheap for what most new players are likely going to be able to do. To that end, we're going to see a bunch of bugs like this, where things don't quite work right in the verse with the ships. Now, I didn't come down perfectly straight, but my nose gear landed, and then everything kind of started bouncing and going out of control. So I quickly took off, realigned, moved back a little bit, and managed to get set down on all of my gear quite decently, I must say. Nothing's colliding, everything's good. So we jump off, we go in to buy. Same thing as the previous video on Daymar. I'm just going to buy a little bit of everything. I'm going to try to buy more of the better stuff, but I didn't want to blow through all my money again. So I have the same amount of money that I ended with last time. And we're just going to go through and buy a bunch of items and drop my money down. I think it's to 6,000 because I knew 3.1 was a day or two away. And I likely, as obviously is now happening, may not be able to play. So I wanted to spend the money and see what we could do. Bought a little bit of everything. And once I've done that, we kind of run into a problem that I've had. I'm not going to allude to it yet, but you'll see it. I've had this problem since we first got to land on the planets. Even in the original 3.0 demo that they did a year before 3.0 launched, they had this exact same type of problem. And as a solo player, it's crippling, and I'm surprised that nobody has bothered to address it yet. Even regular ships in the real world will adjust a little bit to make this problem not... They downplay it, essentially, or mitigate it, work around it, and adapt a little bit within certain tolerances. And I feel that that is where this really falls short. So we come outside into the snowstorm on Yella, and it's just awesome. Gets cold, temperature comes down, I start getting some effects on my visor, and oh crap, I can't jump in. That's my problem right there. That little extension part there, that sucker should come out all the way until it hits the ground. Likewise, the ramp itself really isn't lowered all that far. It should be able to come down a little farther to ensure that it hits the ground. Now, having run into this a number of times, and thanks to low gravity, I was good enough to kind of parkour my way back onto the ramp here in just a second. But again, there was a moment where I went, crap, I just bought how much stuff am I going to be able to get back up there? And you can see I barely made it, but I've done this so many times, I managed to make it. The one thing they've got, though, is it is certainly gorgeous taking off and flying around, seeing the atmospheric effects. There's a little glitch where there's a ring of atmospheric effects around you, which looks a little odd. Like right there, you can kind of see the event horizon, as it were, which isn't quite right, but it's still a beautiful effect as I'm taking off into the sun in my awesome ship. And I take a number of screenshots. The flight model... Oh my gosh, I don't even want to get into the flight model with how garbage it is at this point. I've said it almost every video. The only time I've really had fun flying was 2.3, 2.4, and 2.5. Everything since then has just ruined flight in this and made it worse. The original flight model took a little bit of effort to learn, but once you got it, it made sense. It was intuitive once you understood the SCM, the cruise speed, the afterburner, decoupling, how everything worked together, and you had much more ability to fly the ship than you ever have since, really. Even management of energy wasn't a problem because you could simply just move the energy where you needed it. Alright, now we're at Olazar, and let's hawk all this crap I brought in before I get on a side tangent. So, we're going to sell everything we got. You can see I spent a fair amount of money, got down fairly low. Let's start racking in that money and see what we did. So, I think again, if you're really focused on specific items and you're not just dumping them at Olazar or the nearest station to where you picked it up, and you actually do a little bit of trade route, you can make a good amount of money on some of these items. Now, if you're trying to haul this stuff in an Aurora or even a 315 or another really small ship that's not really designed to haul cargo, it's going to be a bit tough for you to make any meaningful money. Now, if you happen to be in the area looking for something or doing something like that and you bring some cargo with you, it's a good way to earn some extra cash because you bring the right item and you can make a decent amount of money. So you can see I still have one item left to sell, and I've already made a profit over what I had last time. That's pretty good right there. And the pricing, I was just curious how the pricing had changed. Really hadn't changed that much. So I made a good amount of money fairly quickly. I did this trade route one more time, and I ended up over 100,000 UAC. So very good. Now, I'm out on a random station because I wanted to pick up some food and water. My previous character, before being killed randomly, was getting low on, I think, water, really. Food was okay, but water was really low. So I just decided, let's go to a rest stop. Again, I'm trying to do this blind as if I'm a brand new player who really doesn't know what's going on. And I'm sure they'll put in a lot more explanation systems and intuitive things once they get farther along there. But I wanted to see what a new player could expect if they didn't spend their day combing through instructional manuals and kind of know what the game's like. So I'm at a rest stop and I'm just wandering around expecting that, you know what, I'm not going to be able to buy everything, but I would expect a water bottle or some of the basic stuff I've seen in Around the Verse and other videos loosely to be here available. I had hoped Olazar would have some, but I couldn't find any. I'd been on Outpost and there were water bottles sitting there, but I couldn't even steal one. There's nobody at the Outpost except for one poor dude manning the terminal in some of these, and he won't lend me a bottle of water. I'll give him the 100 UEC for a bottle of water. A lot of cool options for the future, but really nothing you can do about it right now, which was really kind of disappointing because they've got a lot of these cool little places here, lots of these options available, but you can't do anything with it. So, I mean, they really couldn't just make or replace those models with one or two items that I could actually buy and eat. I'm sure at some point some of these food items will actually fill you up in different ways and make it better, other than the floor texture having a seizure there. But it was just really disappointing that at this point you introduce such a major mechanic to the gameplay and you can't put water bottles anywhere but the main cities. I mean, for those of us who actually go around and play the game, we don't spend all of our time at these major cities. We're out about in the verse cruising around. I try to do this so I don't get griefed or trolled, and I'm stuck returning to a major city to buy these items of requirement. Now, I know they're testing stuff, but come on, how hard would it have been to just replace some of that? You've got to have a system in place that says these are food items. Okay, replace X drink with this drink, which is an interactable model. At least I would think so, but obviously not. I mean, look at that. Just tell the game to allow me to buy that. Make it generic. I don't care. Go back and pretty it up later. If you're testing the mechanic, then I should be able to do it from anywhere. So I returned to New Babbage and for the first time came into the promenade where the AI are doing their default things. And I came in and picked up a drink very quickly. Now, again, this is the first time I've done any of this. I picked up some extended armor, so I had a place to store it. Reading about it, what it does, how much information it gives me, I really don't know what HEI and NDR are. Again, newbie is the angle I'm trying to go for in this. I know it represents the health and the hydration and the stuff that it's putting back into me, and there's other stats, but my fear with that is it's just getting ridiculously overly complicated for no reason. I mean, why does it have to be so difficult to buy and drink some water? I had some issues getting it to stow because I wanted to stock up on some of this, especially the water, because when I get on these stations, I typically just run everywhere. So I wanted to have a couple of these different bottles in my storage so that I wouldn't have to come back, hoping that I would carry them into 3.9.1. Unfortunately, I can't tell. They're very cheap, which is kind of surprising and nice that you're not spending a fortune on any of these things, but again, I think this system is kind of pointless. To me, it should be like GTA 5, where you have options to go do things, but but you don't have to. Like in GTA San Andreas, you had to go bodybuild, you had to go on dates, you had to do all these things to keep your character buff or fit or happy and stamina, and that really became a grind that I hated because it was just a detraction. It became a chore. The first few times, sure, it was kind of neat. After that, I hated it, and this is going to become the same thing unless it becomes more passive. My biggest pet peeve was I bought a sandwich. You can see the sandwiches are all there, stuck in nice triangular boxes, just like I visited a 7-Eleven or your local convenience store. I bought it, and apparently I threw the package away, so now I can't store it. I have to eat it. Who thought this was a good idea? Why would I take the sandwich out of the package unless I'm ready to eat it? You have no way of storing this item at all. So I just found that an absolute ridiculous mechanic that you're going to sell me a sandwich and I'm forced to eat it on the spot. So the only items that I can actually store and take with me are going to be the fruit items. But I get it, these sandwiches aren't going to last forever, but they're also not going to typically expire within an hour. I should be able to stick it in storage. I mean, even then, we're bending a lot of the rules of reality, so put a timer on it and make the sandwich last for only 3 days of in-game time frame or whatever, or 8 hours or something simple like that. I mean, if I'm headed off into battle or I'm going to go off in the woods somewhere, I'm likely going to need some food. I'd really hoped I could stock the gills on my ship, but if I suddenly have to buy a whole bunch of water and sandwiches to haul off on my ship on missions, that's going to be annoying. I would hope that my ship could kind of take care of some of those things on its own, so that if I go to the mess hall, I can just hang out there and do stuff without having to literally do every aspect of my life. Then it's going to become like The Sims or Second Life, where I have to micromanage every nuance instead of being a space explorer, which is, in my opinion, really going to drive a lot of players away from the game over to Elite Dangerous, or I just had a brain fart and can't remember the other game's name, but there's 2 games out there that are really direct competitors with this that have actually delivered on a lot more content than these guys have. Yeah, the scale's nowhere near as grand, but their games at least work and they have a delivered product that they can expand upon instead of this where they're not there yet. So the fruit was kind of cool. I wanted to run around and see what other fruit was available. Managed to find another shop over here, which is a little bit hipster in my opinion, and that's why the shopkeep there is sticking his arms out. Can't buy a pumpkin yet though. Doing his workout while he's there. Some neat fruit, but what got me about this is like the watermelon. It's exposed. That's raw watermelon that's cut, opened. It's not going to last very long, and yet that is something that I can buy and store. Yet a sandwich that comes in a box, I can't store. So I really have high hopes that they really dumb down the mechanics for food and survival, because I didn't buy into this game to spend all of my time managing my life. If I want to do that, I'll just go live my life. I came in this game because I wanted a beautiful sandbox universe that I could explore, fight, haul cargo, do whatever I wanted within reason. So that's just an annoyance. Now, I thought this would be an epic fade-out scene where I can fly off into the sunset, kind of say goodbye to 3.9, welcome 3.91, when all of a sudden I lost most of the control of my ship here. I didn't really know what was going on, then all of a sudden, randomly, my character hauled out a bottle of water and is now holding it while trying to fly. I managed to get control of my ship back without crashing, but why did my character pull a bottle of water out of storage in the middle of flying? And how are they holding it and flying? So, very broken mechanic. I think they just shoved it in there before it was ready, and I really wish they hadn't, in my opinion. To me, this really doesn't need to be in the verse, but oh well. Those are my thoughts. Whenever I'm able to get back into the game, I'll try to do a bit more of mining. Now, why didn't I talk much about mining? Well, mining was completely broken. I jumped over to Yella to do some asteroid mining. I scanned, I found nothing. Then randomly I started finding all these asteroids, even ones that I just scanned a minute ago popped up as mineable. As soon as I flew into the area, I couldn't find the actual asteroid to mine, and I couldn't actually do any mining. So the mechanic is just completely broken for me in 3.9. And 3.9.1 I can't get into, so I can't test it again, unfortunately. So we will have to come back to that topic.